Hello and welcome back to All About Community. I know that time is catching us. We're running out of time, but in this last segment, we really want to talk about what can you do in your own neighborhood to help resolve this problem. And number 10 on the list of 10 points, Bishop, we talk about that. And could you explain what can be done in the neighborhoods?
Yes, absolutely. Well, first of all, the neighbors can get together and start uh, introducing themselves to one another. You know, in many areas in the city of Oakland, there's a lot of areas, the neighbors don't even know one
That
another,
is
don't
true.
want to know one another.
That is
And
true.
that's terrible because you know what? If you see your neighbor's house being broken into, you ought to be able to call that neighbor or do something to protect that neighbor. And you know what? In doing so, you end up protecting yourself. Some people got this idea of NIMBY, not in my backyard.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But we would take that NIMBY and say, no, this can't exist in our neighborhood. If we see any suspicious people, if we see any people casing houses, you see that all the time now, stealing packages off the door. But say something about it because the next house that's hit could be your own. So looking out for one another, being neighbors one another, and introducing yourself to your neighbor if you don't know them. You should go up and down the block, just introducing yourself, knocking on the door and say, look, I'm Bob Jackson. I live down the street, and I live on this block, and I want to know who you are so we can get familiar. It's the most senseless thing I've ever seen in my life where neighbors literally don't know each other and don't want to know each other for some strange reason. And yet, if that neighbor was in trouble, who do you call?
Yeah.
If you can't get the police, at least you could call your neighbor and say, look, I'm being broken into or something's going on. Or you could see something happening over at that person's house. You could call the neighbor or something you could do to deter the crime. Anyway, neighbors need to come together and be neighbors and
Absolutely.
be
Now,
friends.
Bishop, in the last minute, can you look into that camera and tell our viewers right here in the city of Oakland why these 10 points can help resolve our problems? They won't solve all of our problems, but would help resolve our problems.
And I do believe that they will help solve a lot of our problems right now. And a lot of things we have to take action. It's time out to just sit back and think that through attrition, it's just all roll away. Through just doing nothing and just waiting. I don't know what we're waiting for, but I guarantee you, as we wait, the crime and the violence and stuff seem to escalate. I had 3 pastors that got robbed at gunpoint. I had a minister in the church just Saturday night get robbed at a gas station she was at getting gas. So it's not just certain people, it's anybody. And you could be robbed. Your mother could be robbed. Your sisters, your brothers. It's just wide open for criminals to do their thing. And breaking in your cars, carjacking, and those kind of things. Listen, we must come together as not only a community, but as voters and make sure that these things don't continue.
And that's important as voters.
As voters, we can do something about it.
Yeah, unfortunately, we have run out of time.
Oh, no.
Our next guest will be Pamela Price, the district attorney of Alameda County, who will be right here to discuss some of the issues that's going on. So don't touch that remote. We will be right back with All About Community. But first, let me compliment Bishop Bob Jackson on the action that you're taking concerning what's happening in our community. If every pastor did that, I tell you, it would make a big difference in this community. Thank you for joining us. Don't touch that remote. We will be right back with All About Community. Bishop Jackson, thank you for being my guest.
Thank you for having me, sir.